Welcome back. I'm still so excited about my baby bump cast. It's sitting pretty at home right now, and I'm still excited. Thank you so much, my baby bump. And right about now, we're moving on to our final conversation for today. We've literally had Obiageli Nnadi for the past 4 weeks now. And it's been amazing talking wellness, mental health, and the likes. Today's conversation is definitely not going to fall short of all of that amazement. We're going to be talking about, I'm not mad, just down, right? Because a lot is happening in this country, and a lot of people find themselves in that state. Welcome back to Wake Up Nigeria.
Thank you so much.
And thank you so much for literally being here with us for the past 3 weeks. And now finally wrapping it all up, snowballing on this final conversation. Now, today we're talking about I'm not mad, I'm just down, right? And then prior to right now, we're having a conversation talking about what this conversation really entails. And you're telling me of how it's important to actually differentiate between mental health and mental illness, which I mean can be easily used.
Absolutely.
Yes, like intertwined and all of that. So let's get right into the definition. So now, what is the definition of mental health? And how does it differ from mental illness?
Thank you so much, Winfrey. I'm going to start by asking you a question, sorry, that I normally ask when I'm giving mental health talks, which is, how is your mental health?
Right, it's good.
You know, why I ask this question is whenever I ask my audience, how's your mental health, the whole room, there's an uproar and everybody's like, no, I'm not mad. I'm not mad. And I'm saying to them, your mental health has absolutely nothing to do with madness, right? Because mental health, I mean, first off, we all have mental health. True. Mental health exists on a spectrum, right? So from time to time, we all experience mood fluctuations and all of that. True. But with mental illness, it is specifically diagnosable, right? So you're able to say, okay, this is exactly what's going on, you know, with me. And then what is mental health in layman's terms? Mental health is a state of mental well-being that helps determine how we think, feel, and act, and how we contribute our quota in society. It also impacts our relationships and all of that. But mental illness is a broad range of health conditions that affect how we think, feel, and act. That's the key difference, right?
So like mental health is like the umbrella. Mental health is good, it could be good, it could be bad.
Absolutely. Mental health generally is your state of mind at any given time that determines how you think, feel and act. Yes.
Okay, amazing. So now that we've actually cleared that aside, and I think it's very important, so we use the terms correctly, right? So when you hear someone talking about mental health, you don't just literally just get defensive and like, oh yeah, I'm not crazy, right? So now let's talk about the signs. Now, for a balanced, very quickly, for a balanced, or rather for a good mental health, what will you say are the symptoms? And then now for mental health, leaning to mental illness, what would you say the major symptoms are?
All right. So from time to time, we all have mental health concerns. And then mental health concerns then becomes mental illness when it begins to affect how we perform our daily tasks, you know, how we go about our jobs and all of that. So for good mental health, I'm sure some of our listeners have never, are not aware that there's anything good when it comes to mental health, but you can actually have good mental health. So you feel optimistic, you know, about life, you don't negative self-talk, you manage challenges, you manage stress and all of that. There's generally a burst of positivity about you in spite of whatever is going on in your life at the moment. However, with poor mental health, there's a range of symptoms. This is not an exhaustive list, but I'm just going to mention a few. Symptoms like reduced concentration, confused thinking, irritability, detachment from reality. And I want to say this, even an increase in appetite. Yes, a drastic increase. You go, like for instance, if you're not much of an eater and all of a sudden you find yourself eating a whole lot. But you know, in our society, people tend to confuse this a lot because when you eat a lot, it's a sign of good living. It means you're doing well and all of that. So when there's a drastic change, you're either eating too much or too little. You're either sleeping too much and you're not pregnant like Winfrey.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
Don't mind me. And you know,
It's
so
fine.
like I said, the list is not exhaustive, but if you can relate to 2 or more of these signs that I've called, that I've mentioned, even withdrawal, you know, for instance, with a mental illness like depression that is characterized by withdrawal and all of that, you tend to withdraw from the activities that used to interest you, the things you used to love to do.
Enough to do.
You no
Lack
longer
of
look forward to it.
interest,
Lack of
yeah.
interest, exactly.
Yeah.
Low motivation, mood swings, and all of that. These are a few signs. Yeah, of
Okay.
mental
So now
illness.
I think for mental, I think why it's tricky is because, see, as human beings, right?
Yeah.
We can't just operate on the plateau. Sometimes I think it's a normal situation phenomenon, right? Where it goes up and it comes down. Today it can be a great day.
Absolutely.
Tomorrow it can literally be something totally else. Even with life, everything happens that way. So now, another thing I think also caught my attention while you were defining was the fact that, okay, fine, you said mental health can literally be positive or negative, right? Now, we're talking about
Definitely.
good mental health, positive side.
Yeah.
We're talking about, okay, positive outlook to life. Now, there are some mental illnesses that literally take up that form. So, for instance, bipolar.
Exactly.
Right? So
Exactly.
bipolar, at some point,
Exactly.
you can be like,
absolutely.
all
It's
positive,
characterized
it's
by extreme highs
extreme-
and lows.
exactly.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly. You know, so that's why the awareness of mental health as a concept is extremely important.
Yes.
Because, for instance, somebody who is in my field can tell if I might not be able to diagnose, but I can
Yes,
tell that, okay, there might be something going on with an individual.
Yes.
And when you're not informed, you then tend to think that these extreme highs and lows, like you said, are part of good and bad
And
mental
bad, just,
health,
yes.
and, you know, and stuff. But there has to be other things that you will see that can tell you. For instance, somebody who is living with bipolar and who has not sought medical attention or is not receiving the proper adequate medical attention, it begins to impact their interpersonal relationships. So, for instance, when they're experiencing extreme highs and all of that, there are certain other things that they do that can affect work, can affect their romantic relationships, can even impact their parenting skills and all of that. So that's how you can
actually
tell.
pick it up. So it's not just one thing.
No, it's not
a
just
number of
one
other
thing.
things
Yes, there are a
together,
range of
they
other
come
symptoms.
together.
And
Okay, so now I feel
factors at
something is
play.
also very important to talk about, considering the fact that we have Women's Day coming up in March, not too long away now.
Yeah.
So that we'll talk about, I mean, issues like mood swings. Now, for women, we know that during the time of the month, your moods might literally swing up and swing down. Now, when dysmenorrhea comes, PCOS, sometimes even pregnancy, this women-related things,
Absolutely.
pregnancy, even postpartum and all of that now, right? At what point, so they say, okay, fine, things that affect your hormones can actually drag you into a pit and all of that. So at what point is that pit too deep? Do you understand? At what point we say, okay, no, this one is beyond hormones now, and then it's now something else?
This is a fantastic question because we must, it's important that we draw the line between mental illness and just maybe when you're having a bad day. Like I said, there are general concerns from time to time about the state of our mental health. But like you rightly said, you know, most times on social media, people make a lot of jokes about women and mood swings and the time of the month and all of that. But like I said, the minute these things begin to impact your day-to-day activities, right? The minute you're experiencing these mood swings and it is impacting how you relate with your colleagues, it begins to impact even your ability to get out of bed and get ready for work, even your ability to, you know, do the normal things you do, like get the kids ready and drop them off at school. You're unable to do these things. We can then there's cause for concern.
Is it like once? For instance, I wake up today, I'm like, I'm tired. I see, you know.
Well, no.
Yeah.
I mean, once in a while we all feel that way. But when it persists, right? Yes, when it persists,
So
especially for a long, for instance, like somebody can struggle to get out of bed for a period of 2 weeks. 3 weeks, you know, there's something else going on. It's not just the fact that you're stressed or that you're having dysmenorrhea and all of that.
Okay,
so now the timeline.
Okay, so now we're speaking about the female part of things. So for the men part of things, I mean, men also experience a lot of withdrawal.
Yes,
especially because of the pressure put on society. Society has put on them to be manly and just not talk when you're feeling stuff. So most times they feel like, okay, you know what, I need to process things. I need to withdraw. Now, for someone who's noticed, you know what, this man is saying is processing things, but this is actually taking too long. How long? At what point will we say, okay, you know what, I think this is actually now borderline mental illness.
Yeah. Well, but at this point, it's actually important to also let people know that the mind will fall ill at some point, and it's just like you fall ill, you have malaria, you have diarrhea and all of that. That's why we have physical health and we have mental health. And mental is relating to the mind. Illness is relating to the mind.
So everybody must actually have a mental illness one time of their life.
Well, yes, that's what statistics. Yeah, and the truth of the matter is, you might even experience it and recover quickly and not even know that you experienced the mental health problem.
But then if you draw it closely to physical illness, it actually does make sense, because if your body literally gets tired and gets,
do you understand? It's the same way you're feeling these joint pains and aches and all of that, and it's a symptom of malaria, right? The minute you treat malaria, the pains go away. But you might have the same joint aches and pain, and it's a symptom of something else, something more severe. So it's the same with the state of our minds. So for instance, we talked about men, and why I like to talk about men a lot when we're discussing mental health is because they're at the bottom rung of the ladder when it comes to conversations about mental health. So men are raised to suppress emotions. Men are not expected to express emotions, right? So a lot of our men, like you said, say to themselves, okay, I'm going to withdraw and deal with this. Sometimes it's not necessarily the fact that it's not because they're going through a mental health problems. It's a function of how they were raised, orientation, right? So, but when you notice that the man or the men in your life are withdrawn, and then you notice that they're kind of irritable, you notice that they're barely getting enough sleep, you know, or they're sleeping excessively, you notice that there's reduced concentration at work, you know, they're mixing up meals, there are other things, like I said, that lets you know. And for instance, a man who is very social, very outgoing, who is very boisterous, and all of a sudden is withdrawn.
Shuts down,
yes, that's actually cause for concern. You know, that's in cases like that. So there are other symptoms, the other things, signs you see that lets you know that, okay, there's possibly a mental health problem.
So there was a video I actually saw on social media a few days ago about a lady literally recording a video of someone that was literally borderline, like, who was literally mentally lost state on the street. And a lot of people were dragging and talking about how, how would you be recording him? And she was like, she can't help him because she just knows that, he's going to go back there, because she knew that he was addicted to drugs and things like that. So the question here is, okay, fine, at what point does it snowball into that? So now we all know that this one literally was affected by drugs and things like that. So probably generally mental illness now, right? At what point would you say, oh, right, fine. You said sometimes you might actually even fall ill and then recover quickly.
Absolutely.
So at what point would you say it actually gets to that point where they're actually out of the house, out of clothes, and literally on the streets?
Well, like I said earlier, right? You can have malaria, and you buy over-the-counter medication and you treat it, and you know you're fine. You can have the same malaria and you must be admitted in the hospital and receive adequate medical. Yes. So the thing with mental health problems is that because there's a broad range of these illnesses, they manifest differently, right? True. And then some of them, over time, the person's state of mind deteriorates to that point where they're now out of the house. That's where you see the characters that we depict in our Nollywood movies, eating out of trash and all of that. But these guys were already displaying these other signs, right? They were displaying these other signs. But one of the major challenges mental health advocates like me have when we're doing this field work is the fact that you're seeing these small signs, you're seeing these extreme highs and lows, you're trying to call the attention of family members, but they'd rather take these guys to church, right? They'd rather pray about it and all of that, but which is a good thing. But we must understand that the mind itself, if it is not fed, if you do not pay attention, it begins to, the quality of your state of mind begins to deteriorate. So over time, which for some people it might take years, for some people it might take months. Well, especially when there's substance abuse going on, it tends to hasten the entire process and all of that. But the truth of the matter is, it depends, it varies from individual, from one person to the other. That's the length of time it takes to snowball into more severe mental health problems.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I think, fine, despite the fact that we have limited time, this was actually quite a well-rounded conversation, and that's all thanks to you. Thank you so much for all the 4 Wednesdays so far now. Hopefully we'll have you back soon.
Yes, hopefully.
Talking about something really interesting as well. All right, right now, on your first day here, you had breakfast.
Yes.
We'll definitely do the honors on your last day here
Oh,
as well.
fantastic.
You have breakfast
Fantastic.
today again. So let's actually make our way down
All right, then.
over to the kitchen.
Okay.